Okie doke, the three different sections of a chicken wing. We have the wing tip, this little guy just in here. We have the midsection here, and then we have the drumette running along here. So we want to separate those out. So there's a couple of different ways to do this. I like to do this with scissors, but you can also do it with a cleaver or a sharp knife. So we're going to find where the two different bones are there. We're going to position our knife on there, and then carefully, with no danger, we're going to put our hand on there and then cut straight through. That bit we don't want. Now these two bits we definitely do want. So same process though. We're going to feel in between the bones. We're going to rest our knife on there, other hand away so no danger. Then we're going to press down and cut straight through those bones. And there we have our chicken wings divided, ready to conquer. Now the other way to do this is with scissors, which is my preferred way. So the advantage of scissors is you can just snip through, less danger. You can also use it to cut off some excess skin if you don't want it, like this. So that will crisp up when you cook it, if you cook it correctly, which of course you will. But for me, that's just easier to snip him off. So he's gone. Now, same process as before. We find where our joint is, we get our scissors and simply snip straight through it. Find it there, and just feeling around for those bones, that knuckle in there, cut through this this skin, sinew and meat, and then straight through the bone. Easy done. All right, a couple of quick tips for our chicken wings here. Now, pardon the dad joke, but for the wing tips, we do not give those to the dogs. Chicken bones will fracture and get stuck in a dog's throat. We put them in the bin. See you later. Second tip is, because we're going to be doing some baking, we want the surface area of our chicken to be golden or browned or nice and crispy and crunchy. We're not going to achieve that as well when it's sort of wet like this. So we just want some paper towel, and we just want to pat it dry. You can grab the thing and wrestle it if you like, but realistically, we just want to pat them dry, and that's going to give you a better end result. This guy, which hopefully you can see, nice and dry, versus this guy, which is wet and shiny. So I haven't done any of these yet. So I will do all those, but if we're going to pretend that those were done, what we do is we chuck some Glad wrap or a lid on your container or whatever it may be, and we put these into the fridge. Now, this is for food safety reasons, okay? So with something like a beef, you can let that sit out, get to room temperature, no problems. You can barbecue it, saute it, do whatever you like. Chicken is a danger food because of all the bacteria, salmonella, E. coli, all that sort of stuff. That's why everyone says, you got to be careful that you cook chicken properly and etc. So before you even start to cook it, make sure it's refrigerated, make sure it's not sitting out on the bench. And then the last tip that I have with all meat, but especially chicken, you may or may not be able to see, we've got all our chickeny residue here on our chopping board. Now, we don't want something that's called cross-contamination. We don't want to get all our chicken juices, our raw chicken juices on, let's say we're going to cut celery for buffalo chicken or whatever we're going to do. We don't want to cross-contaminate that. So we'll bring in, some sort of spray and wipe, some sort of products to clean that, give that a nice spray off, or obviously you could chuck it in the dishwasher or hand wash it, but just a nice wipe. Better when they're wood grain, but I won't go into the pros and cons of wood chopping boards versus plastic chopping boards on this video, but so we just want to give this a nice and good clean. Alternatively, if you do want to be lazy, just flip the chopping board over and use the other side if you're going to chop some some veggies, some fruit, some herbs, spices, whatever it may be. Wing preparation for baking. Okay, very important distinction. Baking powder, not baking soda, not anything else. We need baking powder. Okay, so 5 teaspoons of baking powder, 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. Into our dish there. In our wings go. And then we're going to massage them through. Alternative way of doing that, I've got a mini example here, is you can just get a large bag or a small bag if you want to take 5 hours to do it. Exactly the same thing. So I've obviously measured it down because there's only a couple of wings in there. So we chuck our salt and baking powder mixture in, and then we toss that all around, making lots of noise, getting them nice and coated. And there is our finished results. These guys all ready to go into the oven. So if you prefer the bag method, do the bag method. If you prefer getting your hands dirty and getting in there and mixing it all through, then do that way. Whatever works for you. Right, so we're almost ready to rock and roll here. Our oven's preheating on 120 degrees Celsius. What we've done in preparation for the wings is got an oven tray, lined it with foil so easier to clean later. Then put a rack, a cooling rack or a wire rack, as you can see, just on top of there to really get that airflow. And then just sprayed it with some cooking spray, some canola oil spray or olive oil spray or whatever you like. Ready for our wings to be chucked on and then put in the oven. Your wings should look something like this when they're ready to go into the oven. They're quite snug together. That doesn't matter. They're going to shrink while they're cooking. Some of that fat's going to render out, maybe drip down, but definitely shrink up, crisp up. You'll notice they're also skin side up. So I do actually like to turn them. A lot of people don't bother turning them, but for the majority of the cook, I'll leave them skin side up like that and then turn them for say the last 10-15 minutes. Into the oven we go. So for the maple bacon sauce we're going to make, you can use something like a pre-packaged diced bacon. You can see I've got a few out here. They're quite small. Nothing wrong with that. That's all good. I personally like mine a little bit bigger than that. So not quite in a batten, but definitely a little bit bigger. So I would go something like, let's say, maybe something like that. Just a little bit bigger. I'll put them next to each other for a comparison. Just more about the texture that you like in the sauce, but total personal preference there. So while our wings are cooking away in the oven, we're starting on our sauce. So the 8 or 9 or 10 slices of bacon we've got in here that we've diced up, or a little bit larger than diced, is cooking away at a medium or a medium to high heat, just sort of waiting until we're crisping him up. Not super cooked, but just a little bit of a sign of colour. So you can see these guys have got a little ways to go. And then when we get to that colour or a light toast, I guess you could call it, we're going to add in 6 or 7 cloves of minced garlic into there. Cook that through for 1 or 2 minutes. Obviously, we don't want to burn our garlic, so A, not too hot, and B, not too long. First step of making our beautiful maple bacon sauce. So our bacon is nice and crispy, got a bit of colour. Our garlic has also got a bit of colour, which is good. Couple of minutes that it's sort of been softly cooking, I guess. Now what we're going to do is add the sauce, which all the other ingredients will obviously be in the description. I've added all those together, stirred it up, and what we're going to do is just whisk that through pieces at a time. So I'm going to get rid of this wooden spoon here and add maybe a cup or half a cup and just sort of whisk that through. We can hear it started to get a bit angry on the heat, but then it cooled down a little bit. It cooled the pan down a little bit, so that's fine, that's normal, and we can see that already starting to thicken up, which is good. That's what we want. So again, add another portion, and I'll probably do this in 3 stages. So add the first portion, give it a stir or a whisk, add the second portion as I just have done, and as you can see, it's getting a little bit thicker. Then I'll add this last portion in, but the thickness is really going to come when I turn this down. I'll give it one more whisk. Get that soy sauce color coming through. We want to mix all this through. Then I'm going to turn the heat down, so it's at a medium heat right now. I'm going to turn it down to low, to medium to low, and just let that simmer only for a couple of minutes, but we should really be able to see visually that it's going to thicken up and get ready to be our sauce. Right, as we're waiting for our sauce to slowly simmer on this low heat, my timer's just gone off for the wings. So that's the first session done, 125 degrees Celsius, half an hour in a lower to middle rack. That's done. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it up to 225 degrees Celsius and put it at an upper high rack. And about halfway through the time, which will be 40 to 50 minutes, I'm going to turn the tray, and I'm also going to turn the wings. So you can see here, we're on the home stretch. These 2 rows I've just turned, and you can see they're quite wet and juicy, which is wonderful, means they're going to taste good, but they don't have that crisp. These 2 rows I haven't turned yet, and you can see, and here, they're nice and crispy, bit of that golden brown. Still need more time in the oven, but I'm going to do a quick flip and then chuck them back in. Right, so these wings have just come out of the oven. This row I actually left without turning, and you can see they're a little bit more crispy. Can't really hear that. Anyway, they're a lot more golden brown, but if we flip these over now, you can see they're still quite white and juicy, which is wonderful, on the bottom. Which again, none of this is any problem, it's just personal preference, okay? These 3 rows that we did actually flip over, you can see they've started to get a little bit of color on them on this side, and then if we flip it back to that side, you can see that nice crispiness that we'd already established before. So again, purely a personal preference, but we're now going to move in, see if that makes it better for you to see. We're now going to move into letting them stand and getting the sauces ready. So just reheating this sauce now. The sauce was ready a little bit earlier than the wings, which is absolutely fine. I took it off the heat, let it stand. That's actually going to let it thicken up a little bit, as we can see, but now I'm just reheating it. Again, not a necessary step, but just something that I like to do just to get it a little bit warm again. Make sure none of those flavors are sort of overpowering. It all melds together well. This would also be the time if you were doing something different, like a honey soy sauce, a buffalo sauce, something like that. You'd whip that up now. So I did this one a little bit earlier because there's a little bit more to it with the bacon and the garlic and then the maple and whatnot. But if you were doing a buffalo sauce, which would be, look, I'll put a recipe in the description, but something like a bit of butter, a bit of Franks hot sauce, maybe some brown sugar, maybe some vinegar as well. You just whip that up now, because essentially simmer it on medium to high, mix it all through, and then dump it on your wings. Okay, so this is our last step, the most fun step. We're going to coat and then eat the wings. 2 ways to do this. I prefer to do mine in a bowl, shake them up and get them done, and that's simple. But there's a little bit more of an elegant way, I guess you'd call it. So you can simply line up your wings on a plate or in a bowl or whatever you like, and then just drizzle some sauce over the top of it. And preferably you'd be doing this with a spoon or something or other, and get that done that way. And the alternative is this way, and I'll show you both after making a great big mess, but that's okay. So on the one hand, with these guys, you've got them ready to serve now, lightly sauced, I guess you'd call them. You could put more, less, whatever you want, but really bringing out the flavour of the wings with a little bit of sauce. Now this way, it's nice and easy. Put them in any sort of bowl with a lid. Give them a big shake or a big toss through. And there you can see all very deliciously coated, and it'll take on a lot messier, but it'll take on a lot more of that flavour. So depends on your audience, I guess, depends on the flavour and what you're going for. But here are the wings, two different ways, equally delicious, and I'm going to go eat every single last one of these right now.